Sincere great participants in this conference. Let me introduce myself. My name is Alena Nikolaenko. I work in Scientific Practical Center of Hygiene of the Ministry of Health Republic of Belarus. My report is about the radiation monitoring of public exposure after the Chernobyl accident on the existing state in Belarus. There are analysis of Belarusian population doses and monitoring results, monitoring food results. The results are carried out taking into account the contamination milk, radioactive contamination milk from private farms, and internal doses. After Chernobyl accident, large area of Belarus, about 23%, was contaminated cesium-137, more than 37 kilobecquerel per square meter, and also was contaminated radionuclides like strontium-90, plutonium-238, 240. About 264,000 hectares agricultural land were excluded from economic in 1986 to 1991 years. After more than 30 years after Chernobyl accident, radiation situation on the most contaminated territory has significantly improved. The number of settlements where the annual average effective doses exceed 1 millisievert is gradually decreasing. Average effective doses studies has been carried out regularly and every 5 years in our country, in Belarus. This assessment based on radiation monitoring data of food and data of whole body counter follow-up of population live on contaminated territory. In 2015, the number of settlements where annual doses were more 1 millisievert were about 82 settlements, with 70 in Gomel region. This region is the most affected after Chernobyl accident. After 30 years, the methodology and requirements to radiation monitoring, reference levels in commodities, food, feed, and others, have been revised several times following evolution of the radiation situation. On the slide you can see the national permissible levels of radionuclides, cesium-137 and strontium-90 in foodstuff that have been required accordance national reference level 1 millisievert per year. In the existing exposure situation, radiation monitoring on contamination areas is more effective than radiation control on compliance with national standards. The long-term observations show very low levels of radioactive contamination, the most consumption food like milk, potatoes, forest food, of course, more contaminated in our country, and this food include mushrooms, berries, fish, and others. The average cesium-137 concentrations in milk from local farms are from 10 to 16 becquerel per kilogram and strontium-90 from 0.4 to 1.6 becquerel per kilogram. Only in 3-5 settlements, depending on year, the radionuclide concentrations in milk exceed the national levels. And dairy products are the most consumed in our country, and annual level is about 120 kg per year. And this dairy products is more important for dose assessment. Our investigation in 2013-2015 shows that maximum average effective doses from milk were 31 microsievert per year from cesium and 16 microsievert from strontium in Belarus, and depend on year and regions. On the slide you can see our result. On the transition phase from emergency to existing exposure situation, the remediation activity on the contaminated areas have been based on current and predicted doses of the representative person, possibility to produce food and agricultural raw materials in accordance with national criteria, justification of radiological criteria for completion of rehabilitation activity, highlighting areas where economic activity is possible without restriction on radiological factor, monitoring on commodities, food, feed, and public doses, to guarantee foodstuff production within the Republican reference levels, to guarantee the annual effective doses of local inhabitants are lower than 1 millisievert per year as soon as achievable, to minimize collective doses to general public based on the In conclusion, I would like to note that average annual effective doses by cesium and strontium of population in Belarus on the most of the territory contaminated with radionuclides after Chernobyl accident does not exceed the national reference level of 1 millisievert per year. In the existing exposure situation, the radiation monitoring on the contaminated areas is more efficient than radiation control of commodities on compliance with national hygienic criteria. Radiation monitoring program should be developed to allow us trace of the population exposure doses and ensure information on absence of harmful effects for population and the environment. And thank you for your attention.